What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Movies of Brando. I'm your host, Brando. This is a conversational podcast. Each and every week, I talk about movies, television, and everything in between. And as always, thank you for joining me. Hope you're having a good day. Hope you're having a good week. Some housekeeping real quick. So, due to some technical difficulties, I am only going to be doing a video version of the show for the time being. I just threw my laptop in the garbage can because when I tried to make it work for the show today, it decided not to, and I got very upset. It is one of many, many, many long-term problems I've had with that fucking laptop. I'm in the process of working on getting a replacement, but for now, I guess you'll just have to settle for my face. So, you're welcome or I'm sorry. I guess it's a matter of perspective. Other bit of housekeeping. I am not looking for pats on the back or whatever, but I'm actually in a play now, which is going to affect my availability a bit. I am going to not make any changes to my recording schedule yet. For long-time listeners, new listeners, I have a movie review up every Monday, and the regularly scheduled episode of the podcast goes up every Thursday. I'm going to do my best to keep that going, but if I do have any changes to days or anything like that, I will make sure to let everybody know. We're slowly growing an audience that I'm very happy about, and I have said many times I enjoy doing the show, and I intend to keep it going. But we'll see what happens. But yes, I'm going to play. I'll give you all the details of that when I know better when it's, how much and all that stuff. But anybody in the area, by all means, please feel free to come and see it. Not just because I'm in it, but because you should always support local theater. So, in any case, that's everything from me. If you didn't get the chance to see it, I reviewed The Call of the Wild on Monday, gave it a 4 out of 10. It's a bad movie. Don't watch it. But if you're here for just the show, welcome. Now let's jump right into it. After months of negotiations, the full cast of the acclaimed sitcom Friends have agreed to a reunion special. Per a report from Deadline, the unscripted episode will be available on launch day of HBO Max, along with the entire catalog of episodes from the show. Each actor is rumored to have been paid $4 million to appear, with the streaming rights of Friends costing around $500 million. Jesus Christ, $500 million for a whole show? God damn. The exact nature of the special is unknown, but it is likely to be a retrospective of sorts. Following the conclusion of the series, none of the actors has expressed much interest in a return. HBO Max launches in May of this year. Look, people seem to be misunderstanding what unscripted means. It doesn't mean they're going to sit around doing improv in a circle jerk. It means they're going to sit down and be like, remember that episode where we made fun of fat Monica because it was totally appropriate to make fun of fat people back in the 90s? That's the kind of stuff that's going to happen. It's not going to be any mind-boggling revelations about anything. It's just going to be them getting paid for $1 million to talk about the thing that made them all famous. I don't think there's anything wrong with that, but I think you should taper your expectations appropriately. If you're thinking this is going to lead into a fucking sequel series or whatever, don't hold your breath. And frankly, I'm surprised that none of them have wanted to come back and do it. At least that's the impression that I've always gotten every time it comes up. I don't know why. It seems like easy money. It seems like something people would like. The only thing I can think of is, A, they're too busy, which maybe for two of the 5 of them I can believe is the actual reason. The other is maybe they're just afraid that they're not going to be able to top what they did. That's a fair concern. I have heard good things about the Will and Grace sequel series that was supposed to be 1, but it ended up being, I think, 3 seasons total. I've heard good things about it, but that show, I think, is more fitting in today's society than a show like Friends would be, considering Friends, you could argue, has a lot of problematic elements in some parts of it. I personally don't think that. I think there are things that were fine back then that aren't necessarily fine now. I don't think that makes the show bad. I say the same thing about The Office all the time. There are all kinds of lines and stuff that I say and that they say and I cringe because I'm like, I don't think you can get away with that shit now, but it wasn't out now. It's out then. Doesn't mean it's not good now. People need to get over their sensitivities. But yeah, this is not going to be what you think it is, so please don't overreact. The sequel series to romance film Love, Simon has found a new home. Per a report from Variety, the show, called Love, Victor, will stream exclusively on Hulu and not Disney Plus as originally announced. This decision was made due to the mature content of the show, with Disney wishing to keep its lineup on Disney Plus aimed at a younger and more nostalgic audience. Love, Victor will follow the exploits of a young gay student at Creekwood High School, the same setting as the film. Though it is unknown if he will appear in the series on camera, Nick Robinson will reprise his role as Simon Spear and act as a narrator. Love, Victor will begin airing on Hulu this summer. So that's pretty cool. This is as part of an ongoing concern that people are having with Disney Plus. I didn't know a lot about this. It must have been a week where I didn't do like the news portion of the show or whatever. But apparently the Lizzie McGuire sequel series is on pause, kind of, because the showrunner left and she cited creative differences, which, as you guys know, is always my favorite because it means fuck you to somebody. She wanted to add mature themes to the show to tell a realistic story about a woman in her 30s doing her shit in New York. Disney didn't want to do that. So my suspicion and now confirmation of Disney Plus was they were going to use it as an exclusively kid-focused streaming destination, while they were going to keep Hulu around to put basically anything that isn't that. In fact, there was a story this week where the recently left the project showrunner, I don't remember her name, I didn't write it down, but she had mentioned that she hopes that the show goes to Hulu because they'd be able to tell an actual real story there. I think this is going to become a problem for Disney moving forward. I think the fact that they have Hulu available is fine. I think it's a little childish that they don't want to have any mature content on Disney Plus. It's not like you can't put safety settings on something to stop kids from seeing it, and it's not like it's your responsibility to like maintain what people's kids are watching or doing or whatever the fuck. That's always on the parents. So I think the fact that Love, Victor is going to Hulu is better. I think they'll be able to tell the story that they want to tell, and I think that's great. I never saw Love, Simon. I wanted to, but it's cool that I always like when a show gets a sequel series, even if it's unnecessary, which, let's be honest, none of this shit is necessary. Movies, TV, none of it's necessary. This podcast isn't necessary either. But it's always cool to see something like that where they just say, fuck it, and just move it over. Having the guts to be able to do something like that is important. The cast of the remake of Little Shop of Horrors is coming together. Per a report from THR, Chris Evans is in talks to play Orin Scrivello, the abusive, villainous boyfriend of main love interest Audrey, a part that fellow MCU veteran Scarlett Johansson is in negotiations for. News came out last week that Taron Egerton was closing in on the lead role of Seymour, but so far none of the casting has been set in stone. Little Shop of Horrors has no release date. I think this is great. I hope that Chris Evans' "Fuck You, I'm a Bad Guy" tour continues for years and years. He was a Captain America for 10 years. I hope he's a bad guy for 10 years. I love it. I don't have a problem with this at all. And I would love the triple threat of Taron Egerton, Chris Evans, and Scarlett Johansson. Are you kidding me? I didn't know 2 of the 3 of them could sing. So I'm definitely in. It's not set in stone yet. I think Taron Egerton's a lock. I think it's safe to say. Barring some scheduling conflicts with the upcoming Kingsman's, third cool, which is coming at some point, or some other thing. I can't see a reason why this would not have him in it. And I don't see why Chris Evans will walk away. And I didn't even know Scarlett Johansson was in talks until I found this story. So I think they have their main cast right there. The only other most important part of this is going to be who to cast as the Flower, whose name I had in a story before when I did an episode where I talked about this, but I don't remember the name of the flower. My version of the show that I remember, this movie that I remember, was the 1980 remake. Or adaptation, I should say, for theaters. I want to say I think RuPaul would be perfect for the role of the giant Venus flytrap. And I say that not because I'm a fan of the Drag Race show. I'm not. But she has a demeanor and a way of speaking and that I think would be in a theatricality, so to speak. I sound like fucking Bane. Sorry. That would suit that role well. They'll probably find somebody bigger, like they'll probably find and I feel bad for not remembering the actor's name, but the big gay black guy in Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt. That's probably who they'll pick for the role, and I think he'd be good at it too. But I don't know, it'd be a fun thing for RuPaul probably. But time will tell. Hopefully it'll be a good movie. Harrison Ford has high hopes for the Indiana Jones franchise. In an interview with Hey You Guys during a press junket for Call of the Wild, the actor said the following about the numerous delays that have impacted the now-in-development 5th installment in the decades-old series. Quote, "I don't really want to give them what they want to see. I want to give them something they didn't anticipate. They are used to a degree of disappointment when you revisit. Certainly the Marvel movies that have made a spectacular example of a success of worked the other way around, they killed it. Well, they're not going to make another Indiana Jones unless we are in a position to kill it. We want it to be the best. We've got something in scheduling. We've got some scheduling issues and a few script things to do, but we are determined to get it right before we get it made. End quote. Time will tell if the wait and see approach will bear fruit. The last entry in the series, The Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, was a critical disappointment despite making $800 million from a $100 million budget. The untitled Indiana Jones 5 is set for a release next year. Of note, Steven Spielberg announced this week that he has stepped down from directing the film, citing, quote, a desire to pass along Indy's whip to a new generation and bring their perspective to the story, end quote. Nobody has officially taken his place, but reports are that James Mangold is in talks to do so. Well, a few things to unpack there. One, I think it was bold and surprising of Harrison Ford to mention anything about the MCU when talking about Indiana Jones. I don't think Indiana Jones... I'm talking as somebody who's only seen two, I think, I've seen 3 of the 4 of them. People don't like to count Crystal Skull, but it is in the series, so I'm sorry to disappoint you. I don't think it has had as much resonance with my generation as it did for my parents' generation, for example. I don't know anybody personally that's pining for this 5th movie to be made. I think Indiana Jones as a whole is a great story, and I think that what they should have done when Crystal Skull came out and didn't do well, they should have doubled down and either given the reins to Shia LaBeouf like they had planned. If you remember, he was in that movie as his son, I guess. They didn't, fine. Or if he didn't want to be involved in it, they should have started over. Either find a way to bring Indiana in as like a mentor to some young gun, whatever the fuck. Instead of letting it sit here for, 12 years now? 2008 was when Crystal Skull came out, I believe. So the time has kind of come and gone for it to keep going. I mean, even if it's a bad movie, Crystal Skull, you ride that train of people at least talking about the franchise and make something else. I have no expectations for this movie. I have no doubt that it's going to be fine, but Harrison Ford should not have said that. Anytime you mention Marvel and say, we're doing this in comparison to that, even the way that he said it, where he's just using it as like a benchmark, like, we don't want it to come out unless it's good, fine. Still, use another example of that. The other thing I want to unpack, I can't believe that Steven Spielberg is just stepping down. I do not believe for a minute that he just went into work one day and said, you know what? Even though I've been involved in this project and this whole franchise from the very beginning, I'm just going to say fuck it and leave and just let somebody else do it. There has to have been a reason, whether it's scripting or a disagreement or something. Spielberg's a big enough gun, even now, okay, all these years in the business, he would not have left for no reason. Hearing him say, I want to pass it to the next generation, would not have the opportunity been then to just produce this movie and give somebody else the reins at the very beginning? This smells of creative differences to me, but Spielberg's too classy of a dude to say that. So I'm all over the place on this. I have no idea what's going to happen. But don't hold your breath, man. If you thought nuking the fridge was bad, you may be in for some worse shit than that. The spread of coronavirus has infected its first film. As reported by Deadline, production on Mission Impossible 7 has been halted indefinitely following a recent outbreak in Italy. Filming was underway in Venice. So far, this is not expected to affect the July 23rd, 2021 release date, and the scenes in Venice may be cut entirely as it was expected to be a short 3-week shoot. Damn! Apparently Ethan Hunt isn't good enough to beat coronavirus. That is too bad. But no, for real, coronavirus is terrible. I'm hearing about all kinds of stuff. In the video game world, there's this conference called GDC, Game Developers Conference. Basically, every major game company has canceled a trip out there because of coronavirus concerns. Other conventions are starting to have the same thing happen. It's a domino effect, man. I'm surprised it's taken this long for a movie to be affected by the spread of coronavirus. Hopefully none of the cast and crew were, fucked up by it. I don't know how widespread the outbreak is in Italy, but condolences to everybody affected. I don't know how big of a deal to take this particular thing. I mean, bird flu was supposed to kill everybody off 15 years ago. It didn't. Then mad cow before that. There's always some kind of a flu somewhere that does something to somebody. And then it spreads and then it goes away. So apparently they're going to have medicine for it in like May or June. So just, I guess, survive until then. In the meantime, wash your hands. I was at a restaurant recently. I was in the bathroom. And this guy walked up to the urinal, pissed, and then walked out. Guys. And I mean actually guys out there, because whatever, fine. Wash your hands. Even if you don't touch anything, just wash your hands. Because even if you don't touch shit, did you touch the handle to flush the toilet? Because pretend that you're rubbing your hands against another dude's cock. Think about it that way. Maybe then you'll be more inclined, and then going down to eat your BLT. Maybe then you'll be like, that's probably not a great image. I'll probably go wash my hands. Because I so badly want to be the guy that sees that in the bathroom, then follows the dude to his table. Like, I don't mean to be an asshole, but your boyfriend, husband, son, whatever the fuck, walked into the bathroom, walked out without washing his hands. So I thought you guys should know that before you share that basket of fries. Have a good night. I feel like with this coronavirus situation, it's my civic duty to say such things. But I also don't want to get a bottle smashed up against my head by doing that to the wrong dude on the wrong day. So decisions. I guess play the numbers. Make sure you have your big-ass, strong, white friends with you. So, anyway. The next big step for the Star Wars franchise has been revealed. Lucasfilm announced the High Republic project this week. This new narrative focus is set 200 years prior to the prequel trilogy and will be told across novels and comic books. If you don't like to read, you're out of luck. Shortly after this announcement, Disney released the following statement, quote, "This period on the Star Wars timeline will not overlap with any of the films or series currently planned for production, giving creators and partners space to tell Star Wars stories in a never-before-explored timeline," end quote. I mention this because it is Star Wars, and therefore, I think anytime Star Wars does something, it is worth mentioning. I think it's disappointing they're not going to take an opportunity to set a show or a movie in this. I think that may be subject to change. But I don't know, man. Star Wars is so fucked currently, in my opinion, and in the opinion of many people who are bigger fans of the franchise than I am, I don't know if anything they would do would be the right decision. It seems like the only things that people like about Star Wars right now are the original trilogy, the rides, the new, I guess the Star Wars Rise of the Resistance shit over in Disneyland is fucking cool, and The Mandalorian. Specifically Baby Yoda. So, and again, time will tell if the fact that Baby Yoda is the only part of The Mandalorian people seem to have attached to is going to be good or bad. I guess if they're talking about anything, it's better than nothing. So, but it's just, this seems like an odd sidestep. I mean, are the comics and books selling that well? When you hear about Star Wars, is the first thing you think of, fuck, I'm going to get the next book? I don't know. Doctor Who is experiencing relatively low ratings this season, but the BBC has no plans to cancel it. In a comment to Deadline, BBC drama chief Piers Wenger said the following in support of the long-running series, quote, it is an incredibly important show for young audiences. It's still watched by families in a world where there are few shows that have the power to do that. It will always be an important show for us, and we are very long way from wanting to rest it, end quote. Doctor Who is in the 12th season of its current iteration, but the show as a whole has been running since the 60s and is unlikely to end anytime soon. I don't watch Doctor Who. I saw one episode of my entire life. I personally think it's stupid. There are themes in it that are cool. The idea of a constantly regenerating doctor who travels around doing shit. There are parts in there that are interesting nuggets taken individually. But the fact that the show has gone so long, the fact that it's so British, and I don't mean that in a bad way. If you watch a lot of British shit, they have a certain sense of comedy, a certain sense of everything that drives their entertainment, just like we do here. It's not really for me, but I know a lot of nerds that fucking love Doctor Who, and to cancel a seminal show like that, I think would be met with forks and pitchforks. Yeah, they're gonna eat you and then do your fucking hay baling, I guess. That being said, it is a business, and I am suspicious why the ratings aren't good. Now, I would hate to think it's because for the first time they have a female doctor. I've heard that they've been doing some odd things with the narrative. Apparently they've introduced a second Doctor who is also a woman and also maybe the original Doctor from like back in the 60s. I don't know what's happening. I piecemeal find things when I'm looking for news to try to stay in the loop about stuff so I know what to talk about. How like some people will go outside and smoke a cigarette because they just want to socialize with other people. I will read reviews of random shit so that I have a passing understanding of what the fuck some nerd in a room somewhere is talking about. Because that's my life, apparently. It's unfortunate the show isn't doing as well. I haven't really heard a specific reason why. Of all fans of nerddom, Doctor Who fans, from what I can tell, seem to be the least violent and misogynistic and gross overall. And that's coming from a guy who's a big video game guy and movie person and whatever, and big into sci-fi shit. And those fan bases are some of the worst people I have ever seen post on any form of social media. So, I don't know. This is odd. If you like Doctor Who, I wouldn't worry. I think the ratings would have to like plummet substantially lower than what they are now. I think they're sitting at like 3.5 million an episode. I think maybe they'd prefer 4 to 6. But I think you'd have to see numbers as low as like 2.2 before they'd even consider pulling the plug on that show. There's nothing else like it on television. I mean, it's an institution at this point, kind of like SNL and like the fucking New Year's Rockin' Eve and all the other old ass shit that won't go anywhere. Every fucking currently on soap opera, 60 Minutes, I could go on. Please, I won't, because I can't name anymore, mostly. Netflix is making an effort to deal with its curation issue. The streaming giant announced that they are adding a top 10 most popular in the US row that will, quote, enable subscribers to see what is most popular on Netflix and will be updated every day with the position of the row varying, depending on how relevant the shows and films are to subscribers, end quote. No word on when the row will become active in the live service. Now, look, this is long overdue. My biggest problem with Netflix, other than the fact that they seem to be throwing money at people and shows and ideas that aren't good or interesting or fun, is their curation is dog shit. This is hardly the minimum. This is like hardly the only thing that they need to do to fix that, but it is a step in the right direction. Directing people toward what people are watching will probably help you trim through the fat of the 13th foreign language cop procedural that's on whatever the fuck. You like criminals, so you'll like whatever the fuck. Bank heist or whatever, the money heist or whatever the hell it is. So, this is a step in the right direction, but it's hardly the end, I hope. I have been in Netflix a few times this week. I haven't seen it up yet, so maybe it'll be up soon, maybe not, I don't know. But this is long overdue, and I hope that they continue to move in this direction. Because again, people running around with their heads on fire saying, Netflix is doomed! It's slow down, Paul Revere. No, it isn't. Netflix has been around for a very long time, and it's like a gym membership. A lot of people have Netflix, don't even know you still have Netflix, have never used it. And I think it's a good service. I think that there are things about it that are bad, but not outright terrible that I'm like throwing my hands up saying, fuck this. Although the price increases are a little ridiculous, but what are you going to do? They have to stay competitive and pay for fucking another show about folding laundry in your closet. The third and possibly final entry in the Jurassic World series finally has a name. The film's director, Colin Trevorrow, posted a picture on his Twitter page of the first slate, confirming Jurassic World Dominion as the title. Plot details have been scarce since the announcement of the project last year, but the film is set sometime after the events of Fallen Kingdom, which ended with, of course, a handful of dinosaurs on the loose beyond the confines of the park. Jurassic World Dominion is set for release July 21st, 2021. Cool! I did not finish Fallen Kingdom. I got about maybe 20-30 minutes into it. A friend of mine said that it sucked, so that sucks to hear that. I think Jurassic Park, World, whatever, is a great franchise. I think there's definitely room for it. I thought that Jurassic World was a little bit too close to the framework established from Jurassic Park. But if you're going to copy something, you might as well copy that. And from what I can tell, my biggest problem with a movie like, say, Star Wars Episode 8, where they deviated too far from the source material for the sake of doing it, it sounds like Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom actually tried to make some strides to tell a bigger story and broaden the world as a whole, which is exciting. So I'm excited to watch the movie, and I'm excited to watch this movie. I hope it's good. Disney CEO, yeah, Disney has a new boss. This is fucking the news of the week, I think. Per a press release from the entertainment giant, Bob Iger, who has acted as CEO since 2005 and overseen one of the largest periods of growth in the company's history, has stepped down effective immediately, with Bob Chapek, an executive from the Parks Division, taking over the role. Shortly following the news, Iger released the following statement, quote, "With the successful launch of Disney's direct-to-consumer businesses and the integration of 21st Century Fox well underway, I believe this is the optimal time to transition to a new CEO. I have the utmost confidence in Bob and look forward to working closely with him over the next 22 months as he assumes this new role and delves deeper into Disney's multifaceted global business and operations while I continue to focus on the company's creative endeavors," end quote. Iger was originally expected to step down in 2018, but the board of directors extended him a couple of times, with his current contract extending into 2021. No reason for the sudden departure has been given, but he will stay on as executive chairman through 2021. Holy shit. I don't know why this wasn't a bigger deal than I thought it was when I read it. This seemed to come out of nowhere. Bob Iger is the fucking man. I'm not saying that Disney was in dire straits before he took over, but from the time he took over to now, it's hard not to see the impact his decision making has had. Acquiring Pixar, acquiring Fox, acquiring basically anybody that ever made a movie ever, acquiring everything that my childhood ever had. Star Wars. I mean, this guy's a fucking heavy hitter. Now, I started to be suspicious of if there was some Me Too shit going on there, but then when I saw that he was staying on into 2021, it looks like he just decided to say, fuck it, I'm retiring. Maybe there was some behind the scenes shit we didn't know about, some crossing some T's and dotting some I's that he needed to be involved with, whatever the case may be. I didn't hear about any stock market changes to Disney, not that it would be near affordable to buy into Disney at this point in time, but I am curious what this new guy, the thing that stuck out to me, the statement, he's going to continue to be involved in the creative endeavors. That to me makes me think the other Bob is going to focus on the business end, and our Bob, the current Bob, the old Bob, what about Bob? Sorry, is going to mostly just be involved in the movie side, the entertainment side. It reminds me of that episode. Remember that episode of The Office where, instead of having Jim quit, Michael agrees to have him be a co-manager of the Scranton branch, and then it's Jim is involved with the day-to-day, and Michael's involved with the big picture, and it turns into a whole thing. That's what this reminds me of. I don't know what's going to happen, but it's Disney, and I mean, shit. Unless they have a string of colossal box office bombs, 100 people a day die at their parks, and, it turns out that Mickey Mouse was a, insanely horrific sexual abuser. I think that Disney will be able to survive whatever weird shit happens on the business side. So, wouldn't worry about it. Rian Johnson revealed a fun little tidbit with product placement. In a video for Vanity Fair about the development process for Knives Out, which Johnson wrote and directed, the filmmaker said the following about Apple products. Quote, "Apple, they let you use iPhones in movies, but, and this is a very pivotal if you're ever watching a mystery movie, bad guys cannot have iPhones on camera," end quote. "It is unknown if other companies have rules in place like this, but fans will be keeping a keen eye out for the phones characters use whenever Knives Out 2 releases." I thought that was a fun little thing. Look, Danny and I mentioned it in our review of Sonic the Hedgehog. Sometimes product placement can be a little egregious. Other times, the best product placement is when you don't notice it. When someone's just drinking a Coke, or you see a billboard for something in the background, or somebody's driving a particular car, that's the way it should be. When it's overt and gross is when you notice it, and that's when you should call it out, because it's just shoddy and dumb. Why would you go out of your way to do something like that, to ruin the integrity of the story, to just squeeze? I think I had a complaint about that when I reviewed Stuber. There's a whole scene that takes place inside of a sriracha factory for no reason other than to make sure that it takes place in a sriracha factory, which added nothing to the movie or the plot or anything else going on, and was one and done almost as quickly as it popped up. But I thought the Apple thing was interesting. So he kind of fucked himself, because now when Knives Out 2 inevitably comes out, you're just going to look to see who's using what phone, and you're going to be able to figure out the story halfway through. So whatever. I'd be curious to see what other companies are like specifically saying things like that. Like, look, you can't have anybody killed with one of our knives, or you can't have anybody, actually, I would say you can't have anybody killed with any of our guns, but the NRA would be like, yeah, we want people to know you can kill a motherfucker with this shit. So, whatever, man. The Harley Quinn animated series has been renewed for a second season and has a couple of new villains to fill its ranks. As reported by CBR, Alfred Molina and Sana Lathan, I have no idea who the fuck she is, will voice Mr. Freeze and Catwoman respectively. No word yet on how they'll fold on into the overall plot, but they are likely to be major players. Harley Quinn, which is aimed toward an adult audience, has been met with critical acclaim since its launch and is available exclusively on the DC Universe streaming platform. Great! I've heard nothing but good things about this show. And I've heard nothing but good things about the other adult-oriented content on DC Universe, which are Titans and Doom Patrol. So, why more shows don't do this, I don't understand. I think there's a lot of... the MODOK Hulu series is going to be adult-oriented. There's clearly a audience for it. I don't know why you wouldn't have more products like that. You could make fun of, I don't know how many characters in the MCU or DC. And I would get DC Universe just to watch this show and probably Doom Patrol. But probably just Harley Quinn. Nothing but good things. That's very impressive. We're like in a Harley Quinn renaissance now. It's pretty cool. The Snake Eyes film is done filming. Henry Golding, who stars in the lead role, posted a picture of the slate on his Instagram saying, quote, "And that is a principal wrap on Snake Eyes, ladies and gents," end quote. Snake Eyes, which will act as a reboot of the overall G.I. Joe film franchise, and thank God, will explore the character's backstory with the hopes of building a new series around him. As of now, there is no release date. Look, frankly, I don't understand why there hasn't been more G.I. Joe movies. It is, with how popular the Fast and Furious movies are, G.I. Joe should be fucking way bigger than it is. The ideas of these fucking masked dudes running around, Snow Job, Duke, Cobra Commander. There's so many opportunities to make a dope-ass series of movies, and the fact that it's taken this long to do it is very disappointing. But I have high hopes for this movie. I hated both G.I. Joe movies. They were so bad, squandering a cool franchise like G.I. Joe that has inherent storytelling, inherent good guys v bad guys. You could do all kinds of shit with this, and I think it'd do very well. I hope this does well. I like Henry Golding. He's a young up-and-comer. He was great in... God damn it. He was great in The Gentleman. I haven't seen any other movies he's in. I know he was in Crazy Rich Asians. He was in A Simple Favor. I haven't seen those. But I like him. And look, Snake Eyes, I've never really understood what the fascination is of ninjas. It's just a bunch of short dudes sneaking around stabbing people. Fine, whatever. Apparently he's still huge. I don't know how big G.I. Joe is anymore, to be honest with you. I know they have comic books and toys out still. I don't fucking know. But fine, cool. I mean, I'm always in for a new franchise, and if they nail this, then I think they're in for some pretty special shit. The upcoming Clarice Starling TV show has found its lead. Per a report from Deadline, Rebecca Breeds has signed on to play the lead role. Simply titled Clarice. Clarice. There we go. God damn it. I can't do a good Anthony Hopkins. Fuck me, I'm sorry. The CBS series will explore the character following the events of The Silence of the Lambs. Due to licensing issues, the character of Hannibal Lecter is not expected to appear. Clarice is set for a pilot order for now, but a full series order is expected. No release date has been confirmed. Of note, the series will not have any ties to Hannibal, another series set in the world of The Silence of the Lambs. Brian Fuller, the creator of that show, tried and failed to bring Clarice Starling into the fold due to licensing issues. Another cop procedural on CBS. Thank goodness, because I was just wondering, fuck, when are we going to have another cop procedural on CBS? The fact that it's based in the world of Silence of the Lambs may give it... I'll tell you this. I will have more hope for this show and its staying power if they have the nerve to put it on CBS All Access. And I say that because you can swear and you can have violence and sexual content. All of those things cater to this kind of storytelling and this kind of world. This grim, bleak, fucking, oh my god, don't eat this while you watch this because it's really nasty shit that this show should be set in. If they do that, I'll be much more inclined to give it a shot. If they're going to put it on CBS, After an episode of Evil and Blue Bloods, watch Clarice Starling chase down a serial killer, but we can't really show you how fucked up he is because it's on cable fucking television. No thank you. If you have an opportunity here, CBS, don't blow it, because Hannibal was a great fucking show. By the way, if you haven't watched Hannibal, watch it. It's a slow burn, but it's very good. Highly recommend it. Outer Range, the Western series, made in partnership with Amazon and Brad Pitt's Plan B production label, has added Josh Brolin to its cast. Per a report from The Wrap, Brolin will play a character named Royal Abbott, a rancher and family man who gets involved in the deeper mystery at the heart of the series. No other cast members have been confirmed, and the show has no release date. Cool. Love Josh Brolin. There was like a period of time in like the late 2000s where he was the fucking man. I don't know what happened. I think he's on the come up because he was Cable in Deadpool 2, and he fucking killed it as Thanos. But he's a great fucking actor. I cannot get enough of Josh Brolin. And don't blame Jonah Hex on him. That wasn't his fault, all right? I don't care what you say. Okay, you can only do so much with shit writing, a shit director, and a shit overall fucking behind the camera shit. So, whatever. And look, Amazon, another cool show. Fine. I love a good Western. I'll probably have to give this a watch. Last piece of news this week. The Proud Family is making a return. Disney announced this week that the classic animated series will be getting a continuation called The Proud Family, Louder and Prouder. It will pick up right where the original series left off, with the entire voice cast set to return. The Proud Family followed Penny Proud with her wild-ass family, touching on the cultural cornerstones of growing up black in a manner that brought it positive critical attention during its run in the early 2000s. Proud Family, Louder and Prouder has no release date. What a great piece of news. My friend Angelo actually let me know about this before I found the news item. If you have not watched The Proud Family, go on Disney Plus, do yourself a favor. You're in for a treat. It is one of the few shows that I watched on the Disney Channel as I got older because it was just so funny. There is this character, there's these neighbors of the Proud Family, they're the Boulevardez family. They have a grandfather, and Penny Proud, her family, they have Sugar Mama, the grandmother, the old matriarch of the family. She is always trying to sweet talk the Boulevardez grandfather, whose name escapes me. I think his name is Oscar or whatever. No, Oscar is the name of Trudy's dad. I'm sorry, Penny's dad. Father, Angela's gonna fucking whoop my ass if he hears this. I got that wrong. Every time that Sugar Mama and this old dude have a scene together, she says some nice shit like, "Ooh, you looking so good in that shirt." And then he understands what she's saying, but he says some shit back to her in Spanish, and in subtitles in the bottom, it'll say what it is. She doesn't know what he's saying, but we do. And it's always some like wild, like you're fat or you're old as fuck or you're ugly, you're so ugly, you fucking scared, whatever. And it killed me laughing. It was some of the funniest shit in that show. And then as soon as he said, he'd be and like walk away, and she'd be sitting there like, "Ooh, I like when you talk dirty to me, baby." Oh man. So I will probably be watching it just for that. But great, The Proud Family. You know what? I will say it every time something like this comes up. Disney Plus is in a position now to, I don't care how nostalgic and how cheap those pops are. Nostalgia works for a reason. Disney built its company, its business off of nostalgia. I don't mind this at all. So, good for them. That was all the news this week. On to trailer talk. Only two main trailers this week. The big one, the one that everyone's talking about as they should, was the trailer for Candyman, the remake of the cult classic, I suppose you could say, movie about a black dude that you say Candyman in a mirror 3 times and he kills the shit out of you, and there's bees, I guess. I never saw that movie. I will probably see this one. Looks like a great cast so far. The black guy from Aquaman, whose name escapes me. It's like a 3-name, and it's a lot for me at the moment. Then I saw, it looks good. Jordan Peele's producing it, so that you know what that means. Fuck white people, I guess. That seems to be the theme of all the movies he either directs or has any involvement in. Sorry, guys. You had your chance. Then I saw the trailer for The Eddie. It's a Netflix series, probably 2 episodes too long, from the guy that brought you La La Land. Didn't see that movie. I will not be watching this show, most likely. So, really weak trailers, but I guess nobody wanted to be around Candyman. What are you going to do? What I'm watching. Very, very busy week for me. I have been rewatching The Office. I know, it's funny, because Brooke is on, season 7, and on my account, I'm on season 2. So we'll both sit down and be on completely, we'll be on completely different parts, but still kind of know where the other one is at because we've seen it so many times. We're just trying to get our last pieces out of it before we have to buy the Peacock, which I would fucking rather jump off the roof of my house than buy any service that is called the Peacock. So, I'm just saying. And then I've been watching Justified. We got through the first season, a friend of mine and I. It was kind of a lackluster finale, if I'm being honest. Things wrapped up a little too neatly for my taste, but it's a great show. Timothy Oliphant, whose name always escapes me when I talk about the fucking show, is very good in it. Pilot License. I watched Tommy. It is you guessed it, a CBS police procedural starring Edie Falco, who I'm a big fan of. She was Mrs. Soprano in The Sopranos. She was Nurse Jackie, which is where Brooke recognized her from. She never recognizes anybody in anything, so I was very surprised that she said that. Great actress, multiple Emmy Award-winning actress. She's very good. Look, it's a fine show. Premise of the show is this. She plays the first female chief of police. She also happens to be homosexual, which is something they touch on closer to the middle and end of the episode. She is forced to be hired by the mayor of LA because you find out through exposition dumps that the police chief and the commissioner and a few other city officials were involved in like a underage prostitution sex ring scandal. So the mayor says a few times, and I forget the guy's name. He's from the newsroom. He's great. I love him. He's very funny. He's like I don't mean this to sound how it's going to sound. He is like a low-rent Ryan Reynolds. And by that I mean very good-looking, very charming, very witty with the way he delivers his lines and all that. I very much like him a lot. He's the mayor, and he says early on, I was told by a federal prosecutor that I had to hire a woman, blah, blah, blah. There are parts of the show that I like. I liked Tommy, the character. I like Edie Falco's portrayal of the character. I think in the times we're in now, the story of a female homosexual police chief is a premise that has a lot of meat on the bone. It seemed like they were trying to rush to the finish line of that, like immediately set up what the premise is and then move on. They could have maybe spent an episode going over the hiring process or whatever. Maybe had Tommy in the position maybe by episode 3 and made it more of a slow burn instead of just like, here's what happened. They're rushing. And I'm like, well, I wanted to see more of the build-up to this. They treat it like a big deal in the show that she's been hired, but they treat it like not a big deal in the first episode in the sense that there's no build-up. It's just, here she is. See you later. So I don't like that very much. Would I recommend watching it? It is typical fare on for people that like that type of show. And now that I'm saying it out loud, I may have gotten the network wrong. It may be an NBC show. But in any case, it's a cop procedural. If you're into that, watch it. If not, no. Me personally, I'd give the pilot a 6 out of 10. That's just me. Movie releases this week. Short list, only 4. The Invisible Man. An abused woman is accosted by her crazy boyfriend who has developed technology to become invisible because, of course, he has. Burden. An ex-Klan member works with a black reverend to stave off the ghosts of his hate-filled past. So American History X, but probably without a curb stomp. Fair? Greed. A super-rich business mogul celebrates his 60th birthday on the Greek island of Mykonos, which apparently is where all the rich people go. Can't wait. And Wendy. Reimagining of the classic tale of Peter Pan. So look, on that list, I am actually seeing The Invisible Man sometime this weekend. I think Saturday morning. I don't know yet. But yeah, that's it for me, man. Thank you for listening to the show, or I guess in this case, watching the show, since I couldn't get the fucking recording to work the way that I wanted it to. So get used to this for the time being, I guess, until my phone decides to fucking die and then I can't record anything. Which you're thinking, man, that might not be a bad thing. Your social currency matters to me. Tell your friends about the show. Tell your family if you like movies, like listening to somebody ramble on about random, maybe pop culture references that you kind of understood. Share the show. You can find me on SoundCloud. You can find me on, normally, excuse me. Oh my God. And this is where I wish I knew how to edit because that was bad. You can find me on SoundCloud usually for the rest of the episodes, except for this one. This is episode 60. You can find me on YouTube, Movies of Brando, SoundCloud, Movies of Brando. If you have an iPhone, find me on the podcast app, Movies of Brando. If you're not, SoundCloud's going to be the place you want to go. I have a Facebook page, Movies of Brando, and I have an Instagram, Movies of Brando, and yes, I have a Twitter, at Movies Brando. I tried Movies of Brando on Twitter, they wouldn't let me do it, and I don't want to put a bunch of fucking hash marks and all kinds of weird shit. So, that's it for me, man. I will have a review of The Invisible Man up on Monday. I will have another episode of the podcast up on Thursday. What did you guys think of the news? What did you think of Tommy? Have anybody out there watched it? You think anything else of the news that I've been saying? You think that I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about? About the Proud family being cool and excited that there's a new version of it coming out? Whatever the case may be, you know where to find me on things, on the Insta, on the Twitter, on the YouTube, and all that shit. Love y'all. Thank y'all. Good night, everybody.